Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something really fascinating, a process that kind of defines the whole summer for a lot of wildlife enthusiasts. Antler growth.
Yeah, no,
It's
absolutely.
June, it feels like the off-season for deer hunting.
Okay.
Things seem quiet out there. But for a mature buck, this is probably the most intense part of his year, biologically speaking.
Absolutely. It's this incredible race. He's basically going from a bare pedestal to a full rack in just a few months.
And it's not easy. The sources we looked at make it really clear this comes at a pretty severe cost.
That's exactly what we want to unpack today, to really dig into what that summer growth demands from the animal. We've gathered some key facts, some surprising ones actually, about how it all happens. The idea is to give you, the learner, a much deeper appreciation for these animals when you understand what they go through.
Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack this seasonal sacrifice. Where do we even start? Maybe with the basics. What are antlers actually made of?
Right, the building blocks. They're bone, fast-growing bone, which is pretty unique in the animal kingdom at this scale.
So like the same stuff as the rest of their skeleton.
Pretty much, yeah. Primarily calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, the usual suspects for bone, plus other trace minerals. But here's the kicker. The sheer amount they need and how fast they need it. I mean, think about building a whole rack in, 3 or 4 months?
Where does all that material come from? They're eating green stuff in the summer, right? Does that cover it?
That's the fascinating part. It helps, definitely. Summer forage is rich in protein and some minerals, but the studies show it's not enough. Not nearly enough for the speed and volume required.
So if it's not coming from the food.
It's coming from the buck himself. The body literally strips minerals from its own skeleton.
Whoa, wait. You mean like it pulls calcium and phosphorus out of its ribs? Its leg bones?
Exactly. Ribs, legs, even the sternum. It's like an internal mining operation, moving materials up to the skull to fuel that antler growth. It's an extreme biological withdrawal.
Okay, that sounds intense. And the sources mentioned something pretty alarming connected to this. Osteoporosis.
Yes, that's where it gets really dramatic. This massive drain, this demineralization, can actually lead to the buck developing a temporary but quite severe form of osteoporosis during the summer.
So they're literally weakening their own core structure to build the rack.
That's the trade-off. They're sacrificing their skeletal integrity, making their bones fragile, all for that display they need for the fall rut. It's a huge commitment to reproduction.
Wow. And does that weakness just disappear once the antlers stop growing?
Not instantly, no.
Yeah.
It takes time, often months after the velvet sheds, for the buck to replenish those minerals and rebuild that bone density in his skeleton, assuming he gets enough minerals from his diet later on.
Which I guess leads to a practical point for anyone listening who manages land or just cares about herd health.
Precisely. This deficit really underscores why things like mineral supplementation can be so important. If you provide high-quality mineral blocks, especially during and after this growth period,
You're essentially helping them pay back that biological debt.
you got it. It helps them recover faster, potentially mitigating some of that skeletal stress and making them healthier overall heading into the demanding rut season.
Okay, that structural cost is huge. Let's shift gears a bit from building the frame to the state it's in while growing. The velvet, everyone knows velvet antlers are soft, but what's going on there biologically?
The velvet is basically the life support system for the growing antler. It's this complex layer of skin packed with blood vessels and nerves.
And it's covered in those fine hairs, right? Makes them look kind of fuzzy, almost bigger than they are sometimes.
Yeah, the fuzziness adds apparent size, but those hairs, they're much more than just cosmetic. They serve a really critical function.
The sources called it a radar-like system. What does that actually mean?
It means they're incredibly sensitive. Think about it. The bone underneath is still soft, almost cartilaginous in the early stages. A hard knock against a tree or fence post could be catastrophic.
Catastrophic how? Like break it?
Absolutely. It could break a tine, deform the beam, or damage the blood supply, which could stunt the growth of that part of the antler permanently. So the hairs act like tiny sensors.
So even a light touch triggers a warning.
Exactly. The slightest contact with a branch or leaves or anything really registers. It allows the buck to navigate, especially through dense cover, with extreme caution. It's a pain and sensory feedback loop protecting that vital growing tissue.
That intense sensitivity makes sense when you think about the blood supply. Which brings us to the next point. They're hot, right? thermally speaking?
Oh, very hot. Especially in June and July, that velvet is just coursing with blood. A dense network of arteries pumping nutrients up and veins carrying waste away. It's a high-energy metabolic process.
And all that blood flow generates heat.
A significant amount, yes. The antlers are noticeably warmer than the rest of the deer's body during this peak growth phase. And think about what that means for observation. If you're using thermal imaging,
Ah, they'd light right up.
like neon signs, as one source put it, even small, developing antlers are easily detectable because of that intense heat signature from the blood flow. It makes identifying bucks, even at a distance in the summer, pretty straightforward with thermal gear.
That's a great practical takeaway for anyone doing summer surveys or monitoring. It's like a built-in identifier.
It really is a clear bioindicator of that intense growth. And speaking of the velvet surface, there's another interesting substance there, sebum.
Sebum.
Well,
That gives it this sort of shiny, sometimes wet look you see.
exactly. It's an oily secretion produced by glands associated with the hairs. It definitely adds to the shine, but it's not just for looks.
What else does it do?
It seems to have a dual purpose.
Yeah.
It likely provides some lubrication, maybe reduces friction, but importantly, it also acts as a natural insect repellent.
Oh, interesting. Keeping flies and biting insects away from that sensitive, blood-rich tissue.
Seems to be the case. It helps protect the deer's face and the antlers themselves during this very vulnerable period. Another layer of defense.
Okay, so we have this incredibly costly, sensitive, radar-equipped, hot and self-lubricating growth process. Now let's talk about the timing. Because it's not just a steady growth all summer, is it? The sources mention a specific sequence.
Right, the timeline is critical. It's not uniform. Generally, you see the points, like the G2s, G3s, brow tines, they typically appear first. You'll see their basic structure forming by, say, mid-June.
But they're not full length then.
No, usually less than halfway to their final size. It seems the priority is to establish the points first, get the framework laid out.
And then the main beams catch up.
Exactly. The major growth spurt for the main beams often happens a bit later, maybe late June and especially through early July. That's when they really push out the length and circumference.
So lay down the points, then build the main support structure. It makes structural sense.
It does. Set the outline, then build the bulk. But this whole furious growth spurt has a deadline, a hard stop.
When does the growth typically shut off?
For the vast majority of bucks, active bone growth stops around the 1st of August. It's like a switch flips internally. The hormonal signals change.
And that's when the hardening process begins.
That's right. August 1st, roughly, marks the shift from growth to consolidation. The body stops delivering massive amounts of blood and minerals for building and starts the process of solidifying that structure.
How long does that take to go from that soft, blood-filled velvet stage to hard bone?
It's surprisingly quick, relatively speaking. Usually takes about 3 weeks for that main hardening process to complete, leading up to when they shed the velvet.
3 weeks. And this brings us back to the danger element we touched on earlier, right? The risk associated with that blood supply.
Yes, it's crucial to revisit this. Until that blood supply starts to really recede, which is typically happening through mid to late July as hardening begins.
Before then, the antlers are still soft and full of blood.
Extremely so. And this is the critical danger period. If a buck sustains a serious injury, then like cutting or completely severing a tine or part of the beam,
Before the blood flow shuts down.
the risk of him bleeding out is incredibly high. Fatal even. It's not like cutting hardened bone later, it's severing major blood vessels.
Wow, so summer isn't an off-season relaxation period at all. It's more like a high-wire act for 3 months.
It really is. Avoid injury, manage this huge energy cost, grow as much as possible, and then hope the hardening goes smoothly before the velvet comes off. It's a race against the clock with serious stakes.
And once the velvet is off, there's solid bone ready for the rut.
There's solid bone, yes. But there's a nuance there, too. Even right after the velvet sheds, the bone isn't actually at its maximum density or hardness yet.
Oh, still hardening even after the velvet's gone.
In a way, yes. Mineral crystallization continues within the bone matrix for some time. So while they're hard and functional, they actually become even denser and tougher as the fall progresses.
Okay, let's wrap our heads around this.
Yeah.
Taking it all in from June to August. It's this incredibly demanding journey. We're talking about bucks literally mining their own skeletons, risking osteoporosis.
Using sensitive hairs like radar.
Dealing with that intense heat signature from blood flow. Secreting protective oils.
And then facing that final risky 3-week sprint to harden everything up before shedding velvet, knowing a bad injury could be fatal.
It completely reframes how you look at a rack, doesn't it? It's not just an ornament. It's a biological monument to an immense effort and risk.
Absolutely. It's an annual testament to physiological resilience. And hopefully, understanding that sheer cost, that vulnerability during the summer, gives you a much deeper appreciation for the animal. Knowledge really is power when it comes to understanding wildlife.
It truly is. So as we finish this deep dive, here's something for you to chew on. We focused on the incredible cost of antler growth, the way they sacrifice bone density. It makes you wonder, what other hidden biological burdens, maybe less obvious ones, do deer carry throughout the year?
Things related to surviving winter or recovering from the rut, costs we might not even fully recognize.
Exactly. What other unseen physiological challenges are they dealing with that we tend to overlook? Something to ponder until our next deep dive.